Hello, and welcome back to the Radio Gamescast. As always, I am your host, Ryan, and today I'm joined by my lovely duo of co-hosts, Brett and Alex.
Hello, hello.
How ominously you're framed right now.
I got that nice high angle with the
The high
extremely
angle
too
with
bright lighting.
completely black clothes,
Of course,
bright
yes.
light.
This is you're
Only
you're
thing
in you're in my pocket dimension now.
the only thing that's missing is you didn't swivel around in your chair petting a cat.
I don't have
Yeah,
enough
that.
room because the green screen is too close. Uh,
Wonderful. Well, we're gonna jump right into our topic for today. The way this is gonna work, we're starting a new segment on the show that's gonna be happening for the next while, and likely will return occasionally with different people if they ever are interested in doing so. Brett has found an internet meme, I believe would be
yes.
the word, of video game related things, and so you fill out a bunch of stuff on this thing, and then you show it to people, and you talk about all the things. There's a lot of them. We're only going to do one person per episode that we do these in because there's a lot to talk about, and we want to let people actually talk about it. That's pretty much it. If we have time afterwards, we'll go into the things that happened the last few weeks in the games industry that we haven't really talked about at all because we didn't do an episode last week. If not, we'll talk about Assassin's Creed next week because Wyatt isn't here and he likes Assassin's Creed. So
That is true.
Ah,
Totally one of the only people that could talk about it.
yeah, I'm excited about Mirage, but the rest we'll see. Okay, Brett, it's your show. You've got the
God.
fancy things.
Well, worth starting out that I took some liberties with this because I'm a little ass, and the games that I enjoy I really enjoy, so I have a tough time picking between them for certain things.
Yep.
Um, so these all this chicken scratch that I'll zoom in to here to start with. These are all horrible written with a mouse abbreviations of the topic with runner ups underneath them just to give you a little
Can we
guess
can we
through
just say
process of elimination.
a quick prayer for Battlefield with that?
oh, okay. I was very confused as to what some of these abbreviations are for because
So
me and my stupid little brain thought you were just saying tons of time was BF.
no, it does look like it says was though. You're right. Uh, I kind of went with the same mentality that I did with the little Star Wars thing we did not too long ago, where I was okay. If I actually like take the tablet out and spend a lot of time on these, it's gonna take forever, and I don't want to make the people that don't feel like doing a ton of art like sad because shut up, I don't care about that. So I just did it with a mouse, including writing the words. So oh well. Um, and usually in the West here we go from left to right, but the first one is favorite game of all time, and I don't want to start with that because that's boring. So we're gonna go backwards. So we're gonna start on the bottom right corner here with tons of hours put into. Uh, I have Wild Arms 5 here because that is just like 100 hours long, and it just is a long game to beat. And I've gone through parts of it multiple times because I like that game a lot. And Battlefield because just in general, I go back to Battlefield a lot, and I probably across the whole franchise I've put almost as an embarrassing amount of hours as the release of Battlefield 2042 is embarrassing. Um,
Wow.
so we'll begin
It's a
with
lot of hours.
it's a lot of hours. It's very embarrassing. uh, we'll start with Hyper
Oh.
Light Drifter because ever since I played that game for the first time and really really liked it, I've gone back to it like I don't even know how many times I've beaten that game. Um, but it's a lot. I got it probably in like high school ish, and just every year almost I go back and play through at least a little bit of the beginning. And at this point, I've through sheer muscle memory alone, I can just breeze through probably 80% of the game without much of a struggle. Um, just because of the amount of time that I put in, I this is Hyperlight Drifter is probably the closest thing that I would ever consider myself wanting to speedrun because I'm not that kind of person, but
Yeah.
I just keep coming back. I don't know, for a game that only has like really one way to go through it, it's just that like amount of exploration and sandbox and simplicity that's available to you. Just I don't know, you feel like you can go through it a million times. At least I do. Uh, it's a really, really, really good game. There's a reason that it's like hailed as one of the greatest indies ever because it is. Oh, it's so good.
Very good. And I love the little rupee necklace.
Of course,
this turned into. It's excellent.
It's I looked at the official art for this because I needed reference because I don't draw the little Hyperlight Drifter man too often, and this is my my expert rendition of
Your
that.
expert.
Hire me, Heart Machine.
I'm appreciating your stencil sketch brush.
Yes, I wanted to make it look as MS Paint and as possible, and this is also just the default brush that I use. But
I am curious, Brett. You have your tons of hours played. Maybe this ties into what your guilty pleasure pick is, and if it is, just go directly to it. But do you have like a game that you regret spending a ton of hours on?
I do, but I regret it so much that there's not enough pleasure within it to consider it a guilty pleasure.
That's what I was looking for. Is a game that you regret but spent so much time on.
That would definitely. I mean, because I don't have it anywhere because there was simply not enough. None of these little sections had enough hatred in the subtopics for me to put it. But Rainbow Six Siege.
It's because I would go into the Hyperlight Drifter discussion, but that game has had everything about it discussed
exactly
ad nauseum.
It's just good. Exactly.
It's just good. There's not a lot else to say about it.
It's just good. Go play it. However, to answer your question, Rainbow Six Siege, don't play that. Don't play it nearly as much as I did. There's probably a whole year of my life where I don't even talk to almost any of the people in that friend group anymore because it was just we interacted solely to win in Rainbow Six Siege.
You'd be a better human being if you spent more time on 4chan than Rainbow Six.
Probably. Just purely through the fact that you'd get less angry. Because my God, I don't know what the state of the game is now. But I just remember being super, super passionate about it. And then one day I just realized I am spending way too much time. I'm not getting any better, not getting any happier while playing it, and these people that I'm playing with kind of suck as people sometimes. So I'm not going to do that anymore either because
I feel like that's the biggest
shooter
thing I've heard.
communities,
specifically Sieges, I've heard is not great.
Really not.
Maybe it's the hyper competitive nature of it, but
I think that's definitely it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always so interesting to me when you come down to player groups and how they form toxicity and non-toxic behaviors.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Because you think about it, kids in I don't know, gym kickball are gonna start calling each other names and slurs and stuff. When you elevate that to high thought level, super planned out, but you die in one headshot shooter gameplay where the punishment is super severe, and it's just a bunch of high schoolers and an Xbox call together. It's it's horrible. It's it's terrible. And I don't know how you would control that as a developer. There's just no way to really do that. The second you open up a chat room to people, it's just kind of it.
It's interesting because I feel like that's the one thing fighting games kind of get away from is the hyper competitive crowd of people that constantly insult each other.
There's so many esports around fighting games.
I think what happens in a fighting game is because any mistake that you make is your fault, you can't blame someone. You can't.
It's all the people who are assholes about it, they're remembered for having that attitude. Low tier god is pretty much that is his character, telling people to do terrible things to themselves, because most people are just they get super hyped up or whatever, but they won't insult the other pro players.
They don't often cross the line of playful ribbing or smack talk into
unless they're
legitimate
friends.
Unless they're legitimately angry at someone, which is really interesting. Great.
It also
Good thing
probably
to think
helps
about.
that most fighting games are actually polished and not buggy messes. But
Yeah.
anyway, I doubt that either of you have heard of this guilty pleasure game.
Let's find out.
But
How obscure did you go?
any of the college homies from my dorm will understand the power of Crunker.io, which is an in browser voxel based like Call of Duty Counter-Strike clone that like probably for like every time we end up playing it like a week straight is just on Crunker, and it's like the most like low effort which I don't want to say low effort like the devs didn't try, but it's like it looks like Roblox. It looks like Roblox, but it plays better than most modern Call of Duty games do. And I don't know how they did it. It's just the simplest thing. It's literally just like, oh my god, wow.
Crunker is free to play on Steam right now.
It is. Okay, it's free to play on Steam. You can go to crunker.io and play it in your browser, and you don't have to download anything. I'm pretty sure you can still do that.
Get crunked.
Get crunked.
You totally can.
The best way to play Crunker is you make your own server, because of course there's community servers, because every good game should have that if it's a multiplayer shooter. You make your own server. You set up that gravity as 0 and fall speed at the lowest possible and jump height at the maximum, and you set that to gun game. We call that zero gravity gun game. And let me just say, trying to hit people while floating across the map with like an Uzi is the most funny thing on the planet, because it just results in everyone screaming at each other because they're trying not to get hit, and just like it is horrid in the best way
incredible.
possible.
Brett, I would like you to know I just killed someone in Crunker.io as you were speaking.
You're already on the.
That's awesome.
And it's also
God.
I don't have hardware acceleration on, so it's literally running on my CPU.
That's how you know it is an amazing
Truly.
game. But just looking at it, you know that it belongs in the guilty pleasure spot.
Okay, so that's our next games club.
I mean,
Crunker.
we have to. I love Crunker
After
so
this,
much.
We gotta do local multiplayer or like janky multiplayer games night of Game Beasts, Crunker, and some
Left
third
Dead or
thing to round it
something.
out.
Yeah.
Just insane. Play some Roblox or something equally bonkers.
Yeah, I would seriously recommend if you're listening, you have not heard of Crunker before, give Crunker a shot, because it is kind of like the greatest game of all time.
And you speed up with the knife just like CS:GO too, which is
Exactly.
I always saw Crunker knockoffs advertised on Armor Games when I was
This does
going
remind
through
me
those
of
sites during study hall.
what was a game I spent way too much time in the first year of college and last year of high school, called Unturned. I don't know if anyone else played Unturned.
Yes, Unturned.
Very Crunker energy.
Yes, because it's just everything's made out of very simple cubes, and it's just
but
like,
it's a startlingly good game.
yeah, exactly.
Super interesting. I love this guilty pleasure pick, Brett.
That's what I mean. It's I wouldn't brag about it, which is why you guys haven't heard about it yet. However, it is also the greatest game of all time.
I do think I need to switch around some of my games that I've picked now that the guilty pleasure has been more solidly defined.
It's all like, this is how I define these things. I fully expect everyone else to define their categories in their own way, put some little twists on everything. I don't really I'm not going to be the one to set this in stone. I'm just going to be the one to do it first and set the bar real nice and low so that everyone else can do their thing.
These are quality
nice
doodles.
in limbo low.
Nice and limbo low. If I enjoyed Limbo enough to put it somewhere on this, I would have taken advantage of that for a segue, but unfortunately, that is not the case. All Reliable, I mean, I always come back to Battlefield, and it used to be Battlefield 4, but I think I've just played that game so much that I'm kind of bored of it now.
Off the list.
Because it's also like, yes, the philosophy of the different DLC packs or whatever has indeed ended up, making the player base divided or whatever. But also, like, the premium version is the like only version that you can buy on Steam. It is always on sale for like $5 or something. So I don't know why all the servers only have the base maps in it, but that is the case with Battlefield 4. For some reason,
Mhm.
it's not like that with Battlefield 1, and I think it might be because they like gave them out for free at some point. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But since if you're on the
BF1,
PC, Battlefield didn't have the benefit of like the remastered collections that came out
yeah,
with all the
yeah,
stuff, or like DLC collection versions that consoles
mhm,
had. So it means people have to like actually go to their way to buy it. I think you can now get one, but I'm not sure if that just
yeah.
came too late.
I know you can for Battlefield 1. It's called like Revolution or something. It's
Yeah.
got the Russian lady
Which
on
I
it.
think they've given out for free a few times.
Yes, that is either free or like close to $5 because that's how I got it.
It might be part of
Um,
Game Pass now as well.
it is, yeah. Uh, I just don't like how Game Pass runs very taxing games on my PC sometimes because it makes them run worse. So I got it on Steam because I'm a snob. But before that, I played it on my Xbox since it came out, and I gotta tell you, the community, the Battlefield community, really, really, really did this game an injustice when it first came out. People were dunking on it so hard because it's so casual. It doesn't have the same amount of there's no only in Battlefield moments in Battlefield 1. And after so many years of playing it, it's just like we had it so wrong. And look what we did now.
Yeah.
Look what we
Congratulations.
deserve.
Congratulations. You now have an only in Battlefield moment where in only in Battlefield, your game doesn't have a scoreboard.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh,
So true.
the age of
Uh,
modern shooters not having basic functionality is really sad.
it's terrible. But it's also like
How did
I
this
I, I
happen?
think visually and audio wise, I think even Wyatt would agree with me that it peaked in Battlefield 1 and both 5 and 2042 came out after and look worse and sound
I,
worse.
I have Battlefield 1. I've yet to play it though. I really want to
You got to install some
ju-
Battlefield 1.
I want to get to one of those moments where it's like, okay, I'm running on top of a blimp
Yeah,
somehow. How did
exactly.
I get
Yeah.
here? I'll
Battlefield
jump off
1
and
It's
hope someone
was
catches
a
me.
great time.
Yeah. It's an interesting mixture of like if you want to play it as close as you can to feeling like you're in World War One, which is not really the case 100% of the time, of course. You totally can. You just turn that UI off and crank the game sound up to 100% and you feel like you are in hell on earth and it's awesome.
God.
But if you also just want to like put on a suit of Italian knight armor and kill people with a machine gun because you're just a cool guy. You could do that too and just mow through like 20 guys before dying. It feels great. All the little things that they added to make the vehicle balance with the auto repairs and the sniper sweet spot with the cool headshot sound. It's casual. I don't shut up and come back to me when you have as much fun as I do playing the casual game. All right, you jerk, you
Oh, I
invisible
still think
jerk.
that's like Battlefield always excelled as the casual large battle game.
Absolutely.
Like that was the point of Battlefield, at least to me most of the time, is it wasn't as you know perfect to play as something like Insurgency and be,
Yeah, yeah,
where those games are really fun, but you need to be in a very specific mood to enjoy them. Whereas Battlefield is it's fast food. You stuff it in your mouth and you play
exactly.
some Battlefield. I think they took it too far in 5, and way too far in
They didn't
2042.
they didn't finish
Mhm.
chewing their meal.
Yeah,
True.
they were just like, let's regurgitate the half-eaten thing onto your face so that way you can
Mama
enjoy some
bird
new
it onto the
Battlefield.
viewers.
Yeah, I think that's where my biggest issues with like 4 and 20 or 5 and 2042 is just the way that the game flows, not as good. It just
Yeah.
doesn't feel right. It's too fast or too long. There's no in between. Either it takes forever to find someone or you're constantly dead in one hit, which is just,
Not a good feeling.
not great.
Yeah. One is definitely the last one in my opinion, at least, that has like that perfect balance of, you got that strategy, but you don't have to think too hard. You can kind of just have fun if you just want to just fiddle fart around
Have a
for
good time.
30 minutes on a big map. Yeah, which is why I come back to it very often, because it's just a fun thing to sit back and do over and over again. Stressful game, and again, I'm thinking like things that I enjoy playing. Because yes, Rainbow Six Siege is there, but I talked about that already, and I have no therapy appointment scheduled, so I don't want to talk about it again.
And how does that make you feel?
Terrible. World at War being there, though, is an example of a good stressful game, because I think I described it recently, but it is just like you're going through just the hell that is World War II, and it feels great to feel so bad. Um, Speaking of feeling great to feel so bad, uh, played through Silent Hill 3 very recently, and it's really, really, really good. I don't think I spoilers. Silent Hill 2 does not show up in any of these little funny images, because I tried to limit myself to one per game, one per franchise kind of thing, which was really hard. And I think Silent Hill 2 is the better game overall, but it's not like stressful scary. Silent Hill 2 is like the when you think about it for a second, like it's like, "Oh my god, that is horrible and the worst thing I have ever seen. I can't wait to play some more." Silent Hill 3, literally you start off and just like the like techno drums are blasting and everything's red and you're getting beaten up by men with big punching bag arms, and you're just asked to run, and if you don't know what to do, screw you.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Hold shift to run. Why are you telling me this?
Exactly. But the game does a really good job of just like, yes, it's a later PS2 game, so now we know the ins and outs of this console. We can throw, way more monsters at a time than we could in Silent Hill 2. We can have a lot more scary things happen at a time than in Silent Hill 2.
The fog doesn't look
Uh,
like the worst thing in existence.
yeah, well, it doesn't look like the worst thing in existence in Silent Hill 2 either, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I watched a couple documentaries about 2 and 3 recently about the development of them, and I just it's so interesting to see how it came together for both games cases. But I know 3, because there's certain areas where like a room will start normal, and then you'll be trapped in it because the door will lock, and then you'll just see like black and red like tendrils crawl across everything and then onto Heather, and
No
then
thanks.
like, yeah, it's super super intense. And apparently it's like one of the first games ever to have like multi-layered textured animation changing. That one,
Mm.
the same guy who made the engine for Silent Hill 2 and 3, and I say guy because it really was just him over a period of 6 months, was also
no.
the guy who made that, and he like that was his one big contribution to 3, because he was like, "I made the engine already, but now it's time to make the engine scary." And everyone was like, "What?" And then he did it. And it results in a very, very stressful game, because they knew what they were doing very well by that point. Unfortunately, after that point, we don't talk about the rest of the
We don't talk
franchise.
about
So
it. Don't
instead,
worry about it. Until PT, there was nothing.
yes, of course. After Silent Hill 3 and before PT, there were no games ever made by Konami in the horror genre. Do not think about it.
Only their
Um,
pachinko machines.
God. Ugh. Um, for relaxing games, it's weird for me, because I do like myself some walking simulators and things that just, are super chill as a game, but I don't find, as I was thinking about stuff for this, I wasn't really able to find too many of them in my brain that were like memorable, like
Yeah.
things like a
At least
short
as
hike.
relaxing.
Yeah, yeah. Um, like things like a short hike or like other walking simulators that are indies have like really, relaxing ambience and stuff, and those are fine. But I kind of play them once, and you do all the things you can do in them by just walking around, and that's the experience you're supposed to get, and that's great. But I think there are things that are more relaxing than that. I have Final Fantasy 9 here because, I mean, that game is just the times where it is happy-go-lucky, it's just such a happy-go-lucky time, and that that menu music and that overworld music, I totally did like the you didn't actually do that Twitter post thing where I just sat there and listened for a while. It's like, man, this is a really good song. I'm just gonna chill and stare at the screen for a bit. But Ridge Racer 4 is simply too based
What
to
a
be
pick.
ignored.
What a pick,
Because
Brett.
sometimes you just want to feel nothing other than the soreness of your thumb holding down that circle button and some very, very powerful lady in the loudspeakers going, Ridge Racer! For like just the whole entire game's length. Because there's like different little, you get to pick your racing sponsor faction, whatever, and you get to pick your manager and your car. And it's only like a handful of races in the Grand Prix for each character and each different thing you can pick. But like there's a little story you can follow, and the whole time you just have to this day I think that PS1 era like future funky breakbeat filled weird synth fusion thing they were going with is like unbeaten to this day. I don't know how they did it. It might just be like the compression putting just the perfect amount of crunch on all the synths they use, but it's just like this is one of the things I put the soundtrack on my headphones when I'm walking to work, and I feel like I get there in like 2 minutes. It's incredible.
You're gonna make me have to load this game up after this podcast.
It is so. Have you played it before, Ryan?
I have played most of the Ridge Racer games. I'm the racing game man. That also
true.
is the fighting game man.
The wrestling game man.
And the JRPG game
man. And the 4X man and the large tactical warfare.
You take it in phases. You just do one at a time, and then you get to claim.
I think at that point you have to.
Man of many hats.
Well, that's how you play all the genres, right? You just don't play one genre 2 times in a row. You just go through. So you play a JRPG, you play Xenoblade, and then you take a break from playing Xenoblade by playing Total War. And you take a break from Total War by playing Final Fantasy.
The Man of Many Hats is Team Fortress.
And then you take a break from anything by playing Guilty Gear, because that game just rocks.
And then you take a break from Guilty Gear by playing Crunker for the next
watching
3 days
Guilty Gear.
Yeah, for the 18-hour movie.
Oh my god. That's right.
I still love that.
Oh, wow.
Ridge Racer rocks. Yeah, Ridge Racer, great franchise all around. Until I think whatever the most recent one was really bad. I don't know if it was the most recent or like the second and most recent. There was one that came out more recently in terms of the franchise, because Ridge Racer is like kind of dead right now.
Yeah. It doesn't get
wasn't so good.
The love. It doesn't get the love that Gran Turismo does from Sony, unfortunately.
Ridge Racer's peak was around the same time as Need for Speed's peak, and now they're both kind of, waffling in that space of the studios that make them are all absorbed into other studios or other things are going on with them.
Yeah.
What a shame.
R4 is it is almost a parasite in that it has made me want to play more just like arcade racing games with really good music. But then I just go, why don't I just play Ridge Racer 4 again?
Just do it again.
Exactly.
I have to know your thoughts on Burnout Paradise at some point, Brett.
I'll try. It's on Game Pass, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's on EA Play. So you should be able to load up some Burnout Paradise. That game rocks.
I was worried what you meant by it became a parasite. Did it attach it? Did the disc attach itself to your cerebrum?
There, for the last little bit of the last semester of college, you could catch me playing Ridge Racer 4 in class, so I would not not say that. On the childhood game, we've talked about childhood games multiple times before.
Raise, yes,
but had to include Raise from that time that I remembered it the last time we were talking about childhood stuff. I think
one of the best feeling 2D
gotta give the
shooters
honorable mention.
There are. With those like bouncy gravity bits of it.
Yeah, the game for the kids who couldn't convince their parents to get them Halo yet. That is what Raise is.
That almost is definitely more violent.
Oh, definitely, yeah, because there's the super crazy gore, but it's like a little 2D flash game that you can play when Dad's not looking.
Do you guys think it's on or more than the level of Happy Wheels gore?
I think Happy Wheels has more because there's like dismemberment and like
Happy Wheels has
bones
like gut
showing.
trails. That's a
You-
level of.
You could see broken bones and rays, couldn't you?
I don't think so. I could be
Ah.
misremembering, but I don't think there was like dismemberment or anything. I don't think so.
I
I'll have
think you
to play
could
it
shoot
again.
an
It's
arm
been, like,
off. I don't think you could shoot like someone's guts out. I feel like
Yeah.
that was the difference.
I might be thinking of plasma burst.
maybe.
What a
I don't
discussion
know.
we're.
A
Hey,
philosophical
hey,
discussion.
My childhood was browser games, so this is going to be very similar
yeah.
to my
On a
discussion.
scale of Teletubbies to Mortal Kombat, how violent is looking at?
Oh my god, we should have a violence in video games podcast, but not like a cringy
Absolutely.
politician one, like a cool actually violence in video games one.
Crunchy, does imploding this man's ribcage feel? Is it good?
Or very good.
Is this crunch moral?
Yes.
The morality of the crunch. Wii Sports has to be there because I mean, if you were a child in our generation, I feel like you had to have come across it at some point in your life.
It's
And
we
Link
are
to the
resorting to
Past-
violence.
Yes, and Link to the Past is also there because that was my first Zelda game, and
Oh.
emulating that on my phone was a fun time.
Brett,
in
I just
middle
want
school.
you to know. I know that the LTTP is linked to the past. I immediately read it as Linus Tech Tips, and I was like, "What's the P?"
I don't know. What is the?
I'm not sure. I want to find out.
Linus Tech Tips. Tech Tips. There's no way this is coming out of my mouth. I cannot speak at all tonight. Patreon is what the P
See, we
stands
don't have
for.
a non-jokester to tame us.
Exactly. We're all fully unhinged.
then
Anyway, there's
he-
Mario from Super Mario Galaxy.
Why does he have such a pronounced
What
Adam's
a face!
I don't know. This is Mario, and the little Luma's there to denote that it is indeed
Galaxy
Super Mario,
Mario?
Galaxy. Yeah,
I love how
'cause
crangled that hat is.
it's like the worst Mario drawing I've ever done in my life.
Oh my god! You know what? It reminds me of the Smurf hats.
Yeah.
Yes, big droopy hats.
Yep.
Th- this
wow.
this I've also talked about. I think it just just abandoned by this point. But I think it's the best Mario game, and every 3D Mario that people say is good that came out after it, it just feels like they're trying to do Mario Galaxy again with music that sounds like it and levels that look like it. It's just I don't know. It'll always be the top for me. But that absolutely made my childhood as a poor little boy who only had 2 games on the Wii, and it was Wii Sports and Mario Galaxy. And I think we Play came after that.
I've been playing Mario Galaxy. That game holds up excellently. It is like not aged a day. I think of the Mario games I've played from the past, it is the one that has aged the least by far, which is astounding. It's so smooth.
Yeah. For bosses, this was one of the ones was really tough. Interestingly enough, most of the ones that have fewer honorable mentions are the ones that I had a harder time picking because I was just like, these are the top and nothing else is close, and I just can't think of anything beyond these.
I do love the shout out to Ancestor Spirit.
Yes.
As well.
What is Ancestor Spirit?
Ancestor Spirit is the big blue deer man from Elden Ring.
Which is it's not hard, but it just so
feels
cool.
Good. Exactly. That's like I don't think I think maybe the only time I've died to it was when it pulled out the rabbit jump attack out of nowhere, and I was like, "What?" And I just wasn't expecting it to do that. But
He's got mad
like,
oh no,
it is not a difficult fight, but the music and the ambience and just like even looking into I think it's Zully the Witch does little like 3-minute Dark Souls from Soft like let's break into the code and see how this thing works kind of videos. And she just like went through all the mechanics of the fight and it's just like, oh, I never noticed that like in order for it to like get reborn like it does multiple times, it takes the place of one of the ghost animals that's hopping around, and it like kills all the ghost animals to regen a bunch of health when it does the health regen move. and it steals the moves of whatever ghost animal it steals the body of when it comes back to life. So the rabbit
Ooh.
hop is from the little jackrabbit, and the droidica roll is
So
from
cool.
the droidica goat. It's so sick, and there's just details you wouldn't notice. Are there actually better bosses in Elden Ring? Like, yes, but Ancestor Spirit is pretty sick from my point of view.
Yeah.
And you have to put the boss there because I
Can't not
just
put
don't
boss
think
there.
there are a few fights that are more poignant
Boss.
than the boss. But Solo Wing Pixie from Ace Combat Zero.
Also, I do just want to say the boss is from Metal Gear Solid 3 because we've hit
Yes.
the point where that's no longer a name that everyone will recognize.
It's so sad.
Wait, what?
The boss is
kidding
from
me.
Metal Gear Solid 3,
Yeah.
Yeah, that game is
Oh no,
is
I know
older
that. You're
than
saying
many
people
people
won't
alive
recognize
today.
that?
Older
You're
than
saying
many
they
people
won't
alive today.
recognize it? It's a
No,
classic.
there might be like 10 people within like the 20-mile radius of my current position that have played a Metal Gear Solid game, and I know most of them. It's really sad. But
They clump.
Ace Combat had to rear its beautiful glistening metal head somewhere on this list, and one of the most iconic things from the whole series for even people that have not been able to go back and play the PS2 games and only play 7 is Pixie from Ace Combat Zero, who
So
is your
just the
friend.
music, Brett. Just the
Just the
music is
music.
one of the
It's
best themes I've ever heard.
Does Pixie have flamenco guitar music?
He
Pixie
is the flamenco guitar
flamenco
music. Yeah. Those
Then it's perfect.
castanets
Okay.
that just do
That's it.
not stop chugging the whole entire song. Yeah, I don't know. They like it was one of the first times that Project Aces took, the basic mechanics of just like, yeah, okay, it's a boss fight and the music will be really cool and it'll feel cool, but you're just shooting at a plane that has like more health and you have to be extra careful of or whatever. With Pixie, it's like he'll just have a laser that'll just like cross the entire map that could kill you in one hit on the harder difficulties. I don't know. You better be careful to dodge that. And yeah, for the last part of the fight, you can only hit him in the front intake, so you have to joust. It is so awesome because they have this whole like Knights of the Round Table motif going through this plane
Oh
game, and they
my
force you to
God.
joust at the end of it. It is
Of
so
course they
so
do.
sick. And he's just like he's just talking about how cool he feels about ending the world because you have to kill him before the time limit hits a certain point, because after that point the nuclear bomb that he's launched in the background will have breached the atmosphere and will not be able to be shot down
Oh
by any
god.
of the technology that your side has or whatever.
How
But yeah,
cool
I don't
he
know.
feels about ending the world.
He feels very cool
I mean,
about
that is a
it.
common thread of Ace Combat bosses.
Oh yeah. Well, because like most of them are like, oh, that's like sick, and they're like super like comical about it. They're still like good villains, but they're very comical about it. Pixie's just like, I have seen the horrors of war, and I want it to happen never again. So I just want to wipe everything out and
Oh my
start over from
god.
zero, which is why it's called Ace Combat Zero. Which is just
Oh.
so based. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Very 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 hard pressed to find a fight better than that, even though there are a lot of very good ones. Uh, Endings I don't want to talk too much about because people haven't played these games maybe, but I'll talk about them in vague nature, except for Halo 3 because I think everyone and their
I think
mom knows
everyone will
what
understand the Halo
happens.
3 ending.
I you know
Halo's also about the
for
journey, The ending doesn't.
it's a
It's
great
great.
journey.
Doesn't matter that much.
Exactly, because it just in a different world where story wise the end of Halo 3 was just the end of Master Chief, which I think in retrospect it kind of should have been. It would have been great. And I think as a kid who like went back and played the games but after they came out, I was like, man, this feels so right. And you know what? Yeah, in like 2 or 3 years or something, I would get caught up in the hype for the Halo 4 leaks or whatever. But like, I don't know, Halo 3's ending just feels so nice. It's just a good ending. Uh, Ace Combat 5, couldn't put it here because I already put Pixie in the last one. But that game is just super heavy-handed, almost to like a really cringy degree with its anti-war messages. But it is just so over the top that it almost brings me to tears every time because
Bro,
it
that
is
was
just
the
so
first Ace
awesome.
Combat game that I played as like a 10-year-old. That hits a 10-year-old very differently than a grown person.
It is so sick, and just the ending especially, where it's just like, man, I actually changed the world. That was awesome, cool.
Yeah.
It just feels great. Things that don't feel great are Silent Hill 2's endings, but I can't tell you why because you should play that game and see which one you get because almost all of them are at least extremely sad.
I was gonna say, there's no good ending in a Silent Hill game.
Especially not 2. I just know for without any specifics for one of them where a letter is being read, the voice actress voicing the character reading the letter, they used the first and only take was the one that they used, and it was because after that take she immediately started bawling, and they were like, "Yeah, that was insane," so they just used it in the final cut. And that is, I love when stuff happens in games, movies, everything. I just think that's really cool. So I mean, I feel like I say this every week, but play Silent
You
Hill
got a
2.
success when you can get that much emotion out of the actors reading off of a script. You've done a good job.
However, Silent Hill 2 didn't make me immediately have to just like take a shower and think about my life after finishing it.
What did we have? Did
Persona 3 made me have to take a shower and think about my
What
goddamn
a
life
pick.
after finishing it. And I really can't talk any specifics about the endings here because the
remaster's coming out. Let people play it, but man,
exactly.
you're in for a good time.
It to the point where I have FES behind me on a shelf, but I don't even want to play it because it takes place after, and I just think the end of 3 is just the perfect wrap up. It was beautiful. The themes of the entire game remain consistent in the ending scene, and it was just like one of the most consistent experiences I had. By the end, everything was wrapped up, and it just
What I will say about the Persona versions that come out after the game releases with different endings, they do rewrite parts of the main plot to account for the different endings, so it is generally a different experience. Which is why it makes it worthwhile to play both versions, even if you never really. It's a 100-hour JRPG. It's a big ass. It's a big ass.
Trying to squeeze every last cent out of me.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, it's worth it. Good times.
It's to the point where I'm just so satisfied with this, where I actually have less of a desire to play the other versions.
Yeah, I think Persona 3 is also the most controversial. Not necessarily in terms of like bad, but just I think it had the most lukewarm reception comparatively.
Yeah, which I think why there's different like alternate endings added for past or for future versions of the game, because I just think if you weren't 100% sucked into the vibes of the game, I think you could, like, whatever happens could totally just make you be like, what? What? Why? Which I was like for a second, and then I realized that yes, they did that, and then I was just like, and I did have to take a shower because I was just like, I need to do the
process
the
what just
staring
happened.
up at the rain. Yeah. But yeah, art was probably between art and OST was the fight for most contested on this list for me, because I pride myself on being able to look at the screen and go, that's a good image right there. And there are a lot of games that I think look really, really good. So it was really, really tough to pick. And I kind of went with an oddball because some very obvious picks are on the
we all know why you'd choose Shadow of the Colossus or Elden Ring or Tsushima. You got to give us the oddball.
I will say for Shadow of the Colossus, I know the remaster is absolutely gorgeous looking, but there's just something about the crunch of that OG version that I think just complements the way that it was visually designed a lot better. I think like the tribal markings and the shapes of everything look a little nicer and more appealing when they're kind of chunkier and more stylized.
There's just something about the crunch of that horse.
Exactly. Something
Get you
about the
some of
crunch
that
of that
chunk.
goddamn horse. However, Wyatt
After the
isn't here, so
bridge.
I get to talk about how much I like pixel art. And Valkyrie Profile is probably the game from when pixel art was the thing that was like forced upon developers. Right now we have indie games with using it as a stylistic choice more than it is a limitation. I think it's still, a limitation when, you're not a AAA level artist or stuff, but it's if you had the perfect dead team, you would have a choice to use something else, right?
You've also still got options now. Like you could go for a 3D art style, do that Dread
that's what I mean.
Delusion look.
Where on the PS1, you're kind of just breaking into 3D for a lot of developers, and so pixel art was at its peak at this point, from it having been a limitation for so long, and I think Valkyrie Profile and later Valkyrie Profile 2 with its 3D stuff, but mostly Valkyrie Profile 1 is just absolutely gorgeous with the pixels, man. They got Yo Yoshinari on the concept art and the pixel art, and he goes on to work on like a ton of like Capcom stuff and Gundam stuff, just like a ton of stuff that is really well respected for its design artwork. Yeah, it's beautiful, and Ryan, I think you could back me up on this one. I was worried with how Valkyrie Elysium was going to look with that first trailer. It looked a little.
It looks good now.
A little sketchy. Oh, that's crispy now. It looks
good. I want to see more of the environments because that's going to be the selling for me. I think the character art style has come around. It's flipped back around to being good. Environments, I don't know until we see more of it. But hey, soon.
Yeah. Very soon, yeah. Although probably I might wait to pick it up on Steam, which is a month later. But I'll have to. Sure. I'll have to steel myself and not look at anything unless it's really bad, in which case I'll just be sad for a month until I wait to play it for myself.
Ooh.
I'm just going to get the controversy right out of the way. But Breath of the Wild is a runner-up for I hate but everyone else loves, because
you've talked about that before, I think, right?
It's cool to hate Breath of the Wild. All the cool kids do that. There's hours and hours of video essays you can watch on YouTube by people more verbose and well written and spoken than I am about how much they don't like Breath of the Wild, and they give you all the little game design things. So I don't have to do it. I don't have to say that I don't like Breath of the Wild, but I don't like Breath of the Wild.
And I can respect your bad.
Exactly. As I will respect your even worse takes when it comes to yours.
Oh, of course. There's gonna be some spicy things for these.
But there's I don't know. I do not understand the love for Tales of the Abyss. I do not understand why people
What a strange game.
What a strange game. Probably what a strange pick. I think most people probably don't even know what this game is, because it's another situation where people are like, oh, well, Tales of Arise just came out. I hope they make another one.
People know cool. Symphonia, and then they know the newest one. That's how Tales works.
I only know the Tales of Abyss games. I think I have 1 and 2 that I got for free on the 3DS somehow.
Tales of Abyss is on 3DS, yeah.
Yep.
People love this game. People talk about this game like it is the second coming of Christ, and it is not.
It's all right.
It is so okay, and then like something happened. I'm not gonna, just because I hate it doesn't mean I'm gonna spoil it, because I think people should still try it if they think they like it. Yeah, because he's an idiot. Luke is such a dunce. Oh my god. And something happens, and he just he genuinely is like, oh my god, like I just did that really bad thing. And then like all the characters are like, yeah, but that doesn't make you a better person that you're apologizing. And he's just like, and I'm sitting here playing as him going, they're right, it doesn't. And then they still come around to like it by the end. It's just like,
oh god.
I don't know. It's been a while, so the specifics are a little wiggly in my brain. But I just remember spending like 3 hours in the casino in game gambling for what I thought was a really good weapon that I just got exposed to, and then like in the next dungeon, it got replaced with something better, and it was
Oh,
just like, are you kidding me? That sucks. I don't know. And there's also something about yes, the Tales of series like pioneered what would become action RPG combat and battle interactions and all that stuff. But it's just so clunky. It's so clunky. I've played a little bit of the 2D Tales games that control like the SNES and
Yeah.
PS1 games, and those are just so simple. They feel great. You just press a button and the thing happens, and you can jump, you can go across the screen, and yeah, they're kind of BS in their own ways. Um, but
You just move weird. In
exactly, you
all
move
the
weird.
early 3D tales, you just move weird. And
You
I
have to
don't know,
hold like right trigger to free move, and it's just like
but
just
you're like
whoa,
oddly
okay.
slow, and then some characters for some reason are really fast, and it just
Yeah, and there's in Abyss there's field of field of phonons because the jargon in that game is insanity. But field of phonons is like these little like runes on the ground that will appear after someone does a certain move in battle, and they have like a like different colors denote different like elements. So if you perform a magic attack on one of them or whatever, it's like more powerful or something. Their appearance is almost entirely random feeling, and there's like no good way because it's entirely reliant on like enemy moves. And why would they do something that would be effective against them? That would be stupid. So they don't. It just fits. I don't know. It's something that was like rarely useful, but they put like emphasis on it. I don't know. It's weird. I could be misremembering the exact reason why I didn't like that because again it's been a year and some change at this point, but I did not like that game and I don't understand why people do.
I do
Um
just remember because I've only played Abyss on a 3DS, and
mhm.
not very much of it. Maybe like 4 or 5 hours of this game. And I just
I
remember it
didn't realize
being
it had lore or story.
it's a JRPG.
I thought it was just like a dinky little dungeon crawl.
No, it does have a story. It's just
It
that
is a
story
full
isn't very good.
JRPG.
Hmm. I
It's
didn't
a
get
story
that
that
from the
some
game.
people say is very good. I never played enough of it to get what I would call a confident grasp on the narrative. But it definitely didn't grab me
No,
because I
yeah.
dropped it,
It's
which
there was also there came a point where I was like, "Oh my god, I'm like 25 hours in. Cool, the game is coming to a head. I'm this is it. This is the last encounter. I can't wait to be done." And then the game's just like, "Ha, you thought it was over?
Oh no.
You're only halfway through." And I was like, "All
which in a
right, take
good
the
game
disc
is
out."
great.
Yes. In Tales of the Abyss, I take the disc out and put it away forever and
In
then never
Dragon Quest
touch it
XI,
again.
I cheer because the game's really good. It just told me there's another half of it to play.
Same thing with Okami, except it's thirds because I don't know what they were on when they were making Okami.
Gotta do thirds.
uh, the opposite. I mean, there's just no beating around the bush. I love Dark Souls 2, but nobody else does, and it's very sad.
I like Dark Souls
uh,
2.
but it's fun and funny to hate on it. You understand, Ryan? It's you always get the people that are sometimes very legitimately
Oh,
angry
I
about the
totally
game.
get why it's here.
Absolutely.
I understand why you put it
However,
in this spot.
I would like to express the fact that us Dark Souls 2 fans we stay winning because a little game called Elden Ring came out. It has twin blades and power stancing and armor sets that look the exact same and so many mechanics that are
All the stuff
ripped
that I wanted to come back from Dark Souls 2.
exactly ripped straight from Dark Souls 2.
Everything but the bug on PC where if it ran at 60 frames per second, all your weapons' durability would run out 2 to 3 times as fast if your frame rate went higher, which meant because the game had
Oh.
durability that was very strictly balanced, you couldn't fight me
Yeah.
effectively because you'd have to carry like 3 swords with you anytime you
Oh
went somewhere.
man, that's great. It's definitely from this being my first Souls game, but like there I that it is when I had that that moment that the entire design of the development team is based off of, where I remember all day after coming home from high school and playing Scholar of the First Sin and fighting the Pursuer for the first time and just being like, this is impossible. How do people do this? This is complete. I don't understand. I'm so slow and he's so fast and he kills me in 2 hits, and every time I die my health bar gets smaller because I don't know. I don't understand.
Oh,
This sucks. This is impossible. I went and ate dinner with my family and I was angry about it the whole time and I ranted about it to them. They had no idea what I was talking about. Came back from dinner, beat it on the first try, and I was like, this is what
how
it
it
feels
goes.
like. And that is exactly, I mean, that's the moment where you fall in love with the entire franchise.
Brett,
and I
did
was
you
like,
ever
"Alright."
try Monster
never
Hunter?
had that moment. That's why.
Yes, I played Monster Hunter World. That's the only one I've played so far.
You should pick up Rise at some point when it's on sale on PC. Because Rise, I think, has nailed the I am speedy Dark Souls now. It's got that big energy. Wow.
It does. Do you like my Rathalos?
I like your Rathalos a lot, Brad.
This is this one I specifically did not look at reference for because I just I think the cover art looks like that on Steam. And it'd be really
I love
funny.
your lizard man head. Which is in the game. You can wear a headpiece like that. That has a big
Yeah.
floppy head.
Got his cool switch axe, which definitely looks like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, you've got it pretty on the nose.
I watch people play with switch axe all the time. So.
You've even got like the Rathian armor with the little plates.
With the big plate. That's because that's the armor I wore in World. I was like, that looks so sick.
Yeah,
so that's
yeah.
the only armor piece that I remembered. But this game looks super fun. I mean, just to touch on them before, because I took them away early as a joke.
Yeah.
That Xenoblade is going to happen eventually. I just need to.
Xenoblade is asks for a nice chunk of time and the right mood. You gotta sit down with you gotta be in the mood to sit down with a cup of tea, play through the first hour of Xenoblade 1, cry a little bit when the thing happens, and then keep playing, and then continue to cry as it gets worse. And then you beat the game and you feel really good. So
1,000 years later, when you finally beat it,
and then you'll play
Don't
Xenoblade
play
2.
2. Oh,
No, do play 2. 2 is a very
we
good
differ
game.
on this.
You just have to. Did you play 2 without playing 1, Alex?
Maybe.
That's part of the problem for sure. Because if you haven't played 1 and you play 2, the first impression of 2, probably not a good thing. Probably not enough to hook you. But if you continue, 2's combat system becomes really fun midway through that game. It is fun in the early bits, but it's very slow. And then once you get everything and you get like the full kit of combat, ooh, it's good. It also, the story gets way cooler at the end. The voice direction for that game was weird because I recently learned this is the Xenoblade game where they like didn't give the actors direction for most of the scenes. Like 2 of the actors got direction, and what ends up happening is like voice lines will be mismatched in emotion to what they're supposed to be intending to convey because they just weren't told by anyone. So there'll be some weird voice moments. For the scenes that they did care, clearly they're very good, and there's like 2 voice actresses that are incredible the whole time. The rest of them is just like, they clearly just didn't direct these people well, because they're doing great jobs, they're just not coming off great.
It's not the actors and actresses that I have a problem with. Well, yeah, some of the side characters and things like that. It's the character models.
We talk about this practically every episode it comes up.
We really do.
Well, the thing that really
avoid.
does it is because it's RNG what party members you get, because you use the Blades like core crystal thing and you get your little gacha loot box of party members. When your first one is a character named Dahlia, who is literally just an ice woman that's naked with big old chests right in front of your face.
She has
it's
huge
bad
tracts
first
of
impression.
land.
Huge tracts of land.
Tracts of land.
It's a really interesting impression. And then you get Cosmos at one point. And you're like, oh, that's really cool. I can get the cool cannon girl. That's awesome. So, yeah, it's a very strange game, but it is worth playing. If you don't like it, just skip to 3, though. It's not that important.
I get that impression, yeah. Ultra Kill is also here because I have it and I just need to sit down and play it because that game just looks like everything I've ever wanted in my life from a first
It
person
is
shooter.
very good.
It just every dumb meme, every like just amazing feeling ability that I see is just like
It's got a huge
and
update too.
yeah, I saw.
Ooh.
It's got a Crash Bandicoot level hidden in it somewhere. That's it's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
But yes, Monster Hunter Rise is here. Because I don't know, I so many of my friends play, and I got it for me, and I still haven't touched it yet because I need to. I don't know. I need to feel like playing a Monster Hunter game. But at least I know that
The
most
trick,
of the
Brett,
people I know
when you
that
feel
play
like
it.
playing a Dark Souls game, you'll probably also feel like playing a Monster Hunter game.
Exactly.
At least at the start. It becomes different the further you get along, since Monster Hunter is more about like repeating fights
Yeah.
rather than doing them once. It's really about like hitting a level of
grind.
mastery that you wouldn't be able to hit in Dark Souls without like doing multiple playthroughs and seeing every boss multiple times.
The way that
but
I
that's
felt
like
about
the seeking of mastery is the thing about Mon Hunt that most people love.
the way that I felt about Dark Souls, that analogy made me feel like instead of smoking, you should try vaping.
My God, that's awesome. But yeah, that game was really fun.
Poor
Um,
Alex.
You can get nickel in your lungs with Monster Hunter.
You can get a special kind of disease if you play this one. Story. Story. I think about probably maybe different than most people because this, as extensive as the many sections of this little meme are, they miss some things, and I feel like things like atmosphere and like coolest world or coolest mission are like, they it's bloatware basically that was, it makes sense that it's not here because it's easy to just fill out this amount. If you started adding in things like those, you might as well have all the stupid extra tiers.
You
for
gotta
the
have
ads
all the
for-
Game Awards categories.
exactly. Which at that point, it's a joke for a reason. I don't know.
Yeah. And we still can't split sports and racing.
No, somehow, by God, we can.
What's your favorite design of a medical item?
So that's why things like Elden Ring as a story is just kind of weird, but I at the same time it's I think the pinnacle of FromSoft style storytelling where it's like, yes, it's mysterious and delivered super weird, but at the same time the stuff that
it's
is direct
given to you
enough yes,
that you have a plot to follow.
Yeah, and the stuff that is tangible is way cooler than it was in a lot of the previous games. And I keep finding videos of people like, oh yeah, this rune in Elden Ring looks weird. Well, if I take a picture of that and turn it this way, it is actually 1-to-1 screen capture on the texture from this ancient Babylonian obelisk that is about this weird, like obscure, map of the Fertile Crescent and how they thought it was their whole world, and it like
I love
aligns
that.
with the story of that area perfectly somehow, and you just can't get that in FromSoft's previous games in the degree that you can in Elden Ring. It's just so sick. But Persona 3 also, I at times the plot itself just kind of becomes a little bit of a convoluted mess, but still serves the morals you're supposed to take from it well enough that I like it. But by story in P3, I mean like, dude, it just feels good to just hang out with these people that aren't real. And I feel sad when like two of them have conflicting schedules and both ask me to hang out at the same time, and I just
Oh
go,
no.
You get the actual real world
I-
emotion of, oh no, I like
I have
both
that
of
in
these
real
people.
life. I don't need that in a game.
Exactly.
Stop it.
That's what I thought before I started playing. I was like, I'm going to hate the social link system because I'm just going to get actually stressed. And then I did, but that's part of why I like it now.
Well, it's because it means if it stresses you out, you've hit the point where you like the characters enough that you want to spend more time with them, which is a success.
If I played P3, then that would absolutely be going in my stressful game list.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame you. I would not blame you. But when also you stop being able to meet with a character for a reason that is not the reason that you finish their quest line, then that sure does feel bad, doesn't it? And Tsushima is there because it's just a good straight up story. I think that is one that
It's like a
sticks out for
perfect
me.
telling of a classic samurai.
Exactly, yeah. But instead of those, you have Xenogears here because much like with Elden Ring, how you can just look at a weird little symbol or something or a word that sounds weird, you can just like find it in like some weird like old ancient scripture that again lines up with and reinforces the philosophy, which is there's a lot of philosophy in this game, and it is so cool. It is awesome. From what I have, I don't know a lot of specifics of the later Xeno games because, for Xenosaga's case, it's a case of I don't care because I tried it and didn't like it, and in Xenoblade's case, it's a case of I don't want to learn until I play the games myself. From what I understand, even from people that have played everything, Gears is the most like you will sit down and learn about theology today in this 99-hour game. And it is so cool because it's with giant robots. And it's just the coolest thing ever. It's like sometimes it does feel like you are straight up reading a textbook. But like again, then they flash a giant robot on the screen for 5 seconds, and I'm like, oh, I'm paying attention, baby. Uh, I don't know how this game was even made because the whole reason that what is it? Tetsuya Takahashi is the lead director designer of the Xeno franchise. The whole reason he stays with Xeno as like the prefix for his games is like if Xenogears like was a massive hit, then yeah, it would be for like popularity's sake to make people think that it was the same thing. But since Xenogears absolutely ostensibly was not a big hit at all, it's pretty much like okay, these are all spiritual successors because for the first Xenogears game, it was just supposed to be episode 4 of like a 6 episode massive epic. Like this guy was trying to be like Homer or Virgil or something and like craft this crazy universal like lore system for the future of humanity as he saw it. And it is amazing to be able to talk about a damn video game with words as big and important sounding as that and actually have it be, I think, true. Um because it really comes out in Gears. And even with the development problems and how a lot of the second disc is just characters talking at you in a folding chair in a dark room. I've never watched anything else that had something like that before. um it's kind of a miracle that it still comes through as fantastically as it does, which I think is a lot of games I like kind of have that about them, where yes, Shadow of the Colossus really does run at 10 frames per second on the PS2, the console that it came out on. And God, does that camera suck? And that horse makes me glad when it falls off a cliff. But God, I
His
love it so
crunch.
much. His crunch. And Dark Souls' second half is just a complete mess, but it's still such a good game. And it's the same with Xenogears, but I think the story is the thing that is the least damaged out of that, to the point where I think it's probably one of the best ever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't or can't, because I wouldn't blame you if you don't feel like emulating or paying like $800 for an official copy. If you don't or can't play it, watch Resident Ark's State of the Ark podcast. They did like a 20 episode breakdown of like an hour and a half each of
Resident Ark is
Xenogears.
very cool.
They're super super good. I get a lot
Wow.
of like development info and like inspiration from them in terms of like topics that I bring up and stuff. But they're super sick. And if you don't want to play Xenogears,
Or just at Takahashi on Twitter repeatedly telling him
that's
to
true.
release a remake or a remaster.
It still
enough
stands.
of us do it.
If enough of you do it, it'll get released, and we
Well,
know
because
what happens
now it's
when
the
Xenogears.
reverse. The Xeno name now has value because of
Exactly.
Xenoblade. And Xenoblade 3 was such a smash hit that like there's money in this. There's a
And
lot of
as
money in just a port to the Switch or something.
And as we've all learned, harassing devs on Twitter works.
Absolutely.
No,
And,
there's a line. There's a line. Don't harass developers, but
it was a
do
joke.
tell them
Please
repeatedly to re-release your favorite games.
As screwed up as Square Enix is now, also they're interacting with Uematsu and the old boys again still. So it could happen. And again, I'm saying, full seriousness, which I don't fully believe that it will, if Xenogears gets a port or remaster, I will learn how to do a backflip on camera on the podcast. I'm still not joking. I want to remind everyone.
It is because Xenogears is in the weird legal state of, I think Square Enix technically owns the IP.
Yeah.
But Monolith Soft is the developer. So obviously there's a disconnect there.
Exactly.
Collaborations aren't unheard of.
Exactly. I want to see it. I also want to learn how to do a backflip, just saying. But for villains, is kind of an interesting realization that I had, where a lot of the games that I played don't really have like that one supervillain guy. Most of them are just like, yeah, there's like bad guys that you fight or whatever, but like the real villain is like some idea. Like there's not really you are kind of
capitalism.
Yeah, you are kind of the villain in like Shadow of the Colossus or something, and there are a couple people you could point to as the villain in like Final Fantasy IX, but in Final Fantasy IX, it's more of just like the concept of not liking yourself is the villain, and you somehow defeat that by the end of the game. And I didn't, hard to draw a picture of that. So I really had to rack my brain for something that is even more powerful than the boss, who's a very good villain, even more powerful than the entire country of Belka and Ace Combat because of just how evil and twisted they are. And actually, I lied. I didn't really have to think about it that hard at all because it's Liquid Snake, and he is best boy. He is so cheesy, so stupid. The most like over the top voice acting ever for a character that I am still able to take 100%
repeatedly
seriously.
phone calls you to monologue.
Yes.
He is the recessive clone.
Yes. I don't even know if I could talk about this. If I can't talk about the story of Metal Gear Solid 3, I can't talk about the story of Metal Gear Solid 1, Konami. But like just something
one
things
is less
happen.
complicated.
One is less complicated, but like something happens in one where it's like, okay, the fact that I didn't see this coming from a mile away makes me feel stupid. However, the fact that it worked is so awesome that I don't even care.
Yo.
And it has to do with Liquid. But I don't know. While Solidus Snake and the boss and Ocelot are very iconic in their own ways, and Ocelot is forever best meme. Liquid is she's just perfect as the foil for Solid Snake, and just the interactions you get with him in the game are just like perfect setup of what Metal Gear Solid is about, with the whole anti-nuclear, anti-war, what does it mean to be a soldier, stuff like that. He is like super entwined with both that for the whole series and also just the like set dressing of what the first game was about, which is Gene, because Kojima likes to talk about MGS 1, 2, and 3 as Gene, meme, and scene. The first one is Gene because it's so much about the human DNA has been decoded, and now we know how to make perfect soldiers. But the most perfect soldier of all, Big Boss, is dead, and now we have clones of him and stuff of that. He's just perfect. And I think I don't know too much of exactly what they try to do with him in some of the other games. I feel like they try to make him appear again. But I think that even just the stuff of his hand being Ocelot's hand in Metal Gear Solid 2, just shut up. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life, and it's really stupid, and I don't like it because he's just perfect for one game. Just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. He's.
Are you saying you don't love Liquid Ocelot Metal Hand person?
I don't. It's really. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Makes perfect sense, Brett. You just gotta dive even deeper into the whole of Metal Gear lore.
God.
You just have to become unhinged.
I guess I'm not unhinged enough. I thought I was there, but I'm not. But he as a person is just better. Protagonist, was also quite the fight for the top. Heather from Silent Hill 3 is, I think, a better character morally and just because of how she's written than James is in Silent Hill 2. But in 3, instead of just having it be like, oh, you walk up to a rock on the ground and Heather says, oh man, that's a rock. I can't pick that up. She'll say, like the text will say, like, what is this stupid rock doing here? I remember when some idiot threw a rock at me in elementary school. I punched him. And that'll be like the little examination text that comes up on the screen. It's like that for every single thing you can examine in the game. And it's great. It made me want to examine everything because of I just wanted to read what she would say about it. And it's able to fill her character out in a way that like something that isn't a video game can't do that because you don't know what they're thinking all the time.
This is opposed to walking up to a rock and having it remind you of your dead wife.
Yes, and how James is also not a good person and Heather is a good person. And Bestel refers to Estelle from Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky because
okay.
she is awesome. I still need to finish the second game, but just from the first game and like the first quarter that I've played alone, she's like super top tier JRPG party leader. It very rarely I feel like do you get to see like the growth of someone from like kid to teenage to adult and have it like actually be satisfying, because sometimes I feel like it like draws on for way too long or like the change doesn't happen. It's like, okay, the character model and the voice actors changed, but it's still
also
the same character.
Super strong protagonist in just a time when we didn't get a lot of strong protagonists.
Yeah, that's seriously. Like emotionally strong.
Yeah. It's like we don't have to listen to her cry in a corner 10 times in the first game.
Yeah. This was around the time when we had the angsty twink as the main character.
There was like you either had buff military man or you had angsty twink. Those were the character archetypes of this time, and I like having a middle ground where we can have a character that might look like an angsty twink who has more of a middle ground personality. But it's drawing that line of like, hey, you can have emotions, you should have emotions. We're not going to make you wrestle with them repeatedly over like the morality of very silly things for the entire run of this game. Mm-hmm. Which is funny to say about Trails, because that is like the premise of Trails.
They just handle it so
But they handle it in a way that's just so much more well-written, and more attention is paid to it than many other games that try to tackle the same themes without the kind of maturity that they have.
Yeah, with Estelle especially, it's like she has like Persona party member levels of like realistic writing where it's like I could see this person being like real.
I can imagine having like a conversation with this person.
Exactly, yeah. And she's just such a dumb jokester idiot that can't make good food, but is very happy.
I'm so proud of when games can do that, because it's so unsettling seeing something in that's usually in real life just be like they perfectly boiled it down to its most essential, ordinary, like everyday mundane things that you have to deal with. I came here for escapism. Why do I enjoy this?
And I said no repeats, but I can't not have him here. And that is Naked Snake.
Absolutely.
Look at him.
He looks very familiar.
He's ready to eat a tree frog. Yeah.
I love it, Brett. I love what you've done here.
Oh my god.
I've
That makes sense. That fits.
exactly. I've also talked about Naked Snake / Big Boss at length, but at least just because we're getting to, I think we only have like, I think we only have like 3 things left. I will say again that I don't think that there is a game that exists more where you just like you see and play as someone who just goes through the worst, most insane shit for the whole experience, and by the end you're just like, I mean, I just get it. They're a terrible person now, but I just get it. I would be a terrible person too after that. I don't know. I can't disagree with any of their emotions after what just happened.
Like, I understand
Uh,
why this character was technically the villain of the
exactly.
Oh.
NES game.
Yeah. Uh, it does that, like that thing that all prequels strive to do, where it's like this retroactively makes everything that comes after it feel more dramatic as a result.
These are the
Uh,
horrors of war that Gundam warned me about.
Yes, exactly. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. It's same usual Kojima shtick that Liquid also has, where just every so often he'll just like break out a one-liner that sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and I just go, "Yeah, dude, me too, bro. Absolutely, absolutely." I'll sit and watch an unskippable 30-second cutscene of you devouring a snake for some reason. I don't know why that came up, but okay, cool. This is like the 8th time I've eaten something in the game, and it just decided to come up for no reason. Cool. Um, but yeah, he's incredible. I you know, great. What better time than now? I guess there's more rumor than usual that Konami might be doing something Metal Gear related in terms of actually doing good.
That Konami might be doing that's Metal Gear related.
Well, yeah, they have an unannounced mystery spot in their Tokyo Game Show
Wait for it to be another
thing.
pachinko machine.
It's
I know.
no, Ryan. It's gonna be Survive 2.
God, I think they would actually be physically attacked if that happened, with the amount of like in-house rebellion that occurred in the studio for the first Survive game. I think they would just be a civil war inside Konami HQ after that.
We would see like
But
shredded pieces of post-it notes as the concept art because no one else did any more work on it after.
exactly. Oh my god. But word around the block is more than usual, because I feel like this happens every year, but more
Mhm.
than usual from more reputable leakers than before, and I'm so ready to be disappointed after saying this. They might be making a remaster collection of the first 3 Metal Gear Solid games.
Ooh.
Uh,
I love that they just
but
give up it for it repeatedly. I
they
just want it
yeah.
on a modern console. I just want it on a
Something
modern system.
It has to be something about it being PS3, because
It
that the
does. People
architecture
have
of those
gotten it to
games.
work now, though, so I
Oh yeah.
think they're just not willing to put the.
Wasn't that PlayStation's thing before, like with their new uh Xbox Game Pass competitor? It's the PlayStation 3 that they kept on having trouble with getting the games there,
Yeah.
right? Or was it the PS2?
It's no
Three.
PS2 is
Okay.
is just is figured out, like a preschooler can make a PS2 game work
My
perfectly on an iPhone at this point.
my
But
publisher in Christ, you made the console.
exactly, but that's the thing.
It was made in a way that no other console or computer has ever been made, or has
Yeah.
been made
I
Yeah.
since.
I
So
know that feeling because my God, what was the when I was trying to transfer memory from my PlayStation to PlayStation 4 Pro, that doesn't work. You
Oh
can't do
god.
that
That's
because
weird.
their motherboards and CPU and things are just fundamentally completely different for some reason.
Sony, why?
it's the era of hardware that wasn't standardized.
Yeah, I guess so. Um like I said before, OST was like it's like the future civil war that will happen within Konami HQ. There was that episode of SpongeBob where all the little brain SpongeBobs are in the office and it's just burning down and everyone's screaming. That was me trying to pick what could possibly be at the top for
Mhm.
game OSTs, because there's just so many good ones from like the start all the way to now. Uh I mean, I tried to limit myself for 3 runners up, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 is not there, which is
I believe
must be
Mhm.
there.
I can't believe
Uh,
the Flying Flamengo guitar isn't here as a runner-up.
exactly, Ace Combat is not there.
Dude,
Uh,
OST's getting good.
I
There
know
is competition.
people are figuring it out now. But Halo ODST, that sax, Marty O'Donnell, you have won my heart for years with that saxophone. Shadow of the Colossus. I mean, you get the guy who did the soundtrack for Gundam Wing to do a video game, and it's you just end up with gold. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you want me to say. Uh, and Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably the closest actually to being to the top in my opinion because literally not a bad song in the entire over 100 track list or something like that. They're just all bangers, and the ones that are really good are like, why can't my real life have a soundtrack? Uh, but I think Ryan knows it's at the top of this list. Spelled wrong, of course. Nier is here because the first time I had even heard what Nier was is when YouTube just randomly gave me a video recommendation of the song Snow in Summer, and
As
I
it
listened
does.
to it, and I was just like, "How's this? Where's this been my entire life? This is just the coolest thing ever." I don't even yeah, it's like I guess OST or soundtrack is like a genre that things can be put under now on like Spotify or something, but just like certain Nier songs are just like, how? Like, what is this even a fusion of? Like, what instrument is that? I don't know what the hell like garbage you're pulling out. I don't understand. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. There's like for as emotional as the story of Nier Replicant already is, the thing that pushes people over the edge emotionally while experiencing it is because when that music hits, it is like, oh my god, I have no soul anymore. When you're
Mhm.
fighting the Shadow Lord for like the third time and a new part of the song starts happening that's more intense than the last two because you just got to a further part of the fight after replaying the game twice, it's like I earned this and I hate myself for it because I just did something very bad. And the music makes you feel like there is just absolutely no hope in the universe, and it is awesome. Very, 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 very few things kind of reach that pinnacle, in my opinion. Um, which is it's of course just it's just hours and hours of weeb garbage. But I love it.
Obviously.
Um, So favorite series, uh, that this one, I got a handful of things I really like, but it
Some
wasn't really
competition.
difficult. Eh, yeah, you could say that. It was more of a fight for second place than it was for first, even
Hmm.
though the first place hurts me. Um, but I like me some Final Fantasy and some SMT, and that I'm getting into JRPGs a lot. I really enjoy both of those. I think they got a lot of good games in them and a lot of
They have a
separate
lot of
heavy
variety too.
hitters. Yeah, a
Great.
lot of variety. And a lot of things that do the rest of the list really, really
Oh,
well.
look, there it all is.
Hmm.
Um,
Yay.
and it's hard to. It's more of a franchise, I guess, than a series because they're not really aligned 100% of the time. But just the modern FromSoft games, they just can't miss. They literally cannot miss, and they're so good. Um, but John has been there since I was a little boy,
Oh yeah.
and he's a little
Uh,
bit sad about his current situation right now.
Why can we
But
see
that's
his
okay.
face, Brett? Why can we see his face?
That's actually a reflection of my face looking at him. But
Perfect.
every so often, like Halo Infinite news comes out, and I just go, "What happened? This sucks." And I'll go and play some like Halo 3 or something. I'll be like, "No, this is the best series ever made." It's just so good. Those those Bungie games plus Halo 4 are just like they might not get everything right. The things they do get right are really, really good, and the
They
things that
get
they did
really
for
right.
really right, and the things that I people don't really talk anymore about the things that Halo has done for the first person shooter genre because now first person shooters have just been so watered down to exactly what is correct now. They've just everyone's got it down to a science to the point where I guess people are forgetting now and just doing things
That there
incorrectly
are
for
different
fun.
ways to do things.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and Halo's a big reason that those things are even good in the first place. We're like, yeah, there's Half-Life is probably more cinematic and immersive, and Doom and Quake paved the way for the mechanics themselves, but like I don't know, there's just certain things that Halo does where all the way back to the first game that was new for the time and games still don't do like to this day. And just playing through the series, you get to see something that I noticed the last time I went through is like how cinematic Bungie got through cutscenes over time.
Mm.
Like it'll just be like static shot and reverse shot or like cheesy zoom ins with Halo 1 because that's a combination of probably all they could do with the tech and all they could do with their brain and experience level.
That
But
area
then
establishing shot at the level.
yeah, but then come like Halo 2, it's like, oh, they're doing more like zoomed out shots of like action happening and stuff. And then by the time you get to 3 and ODST and Reach, it's like the cutscenes are basically just movies at that point. And they're just like so creative with like cameras being mounted on the sides of like the ODST drop pod as it's dropping, and you get to see what like the ship sees and all the little computer diagnostic things coming up on the screen. And it's just such a cinematic series while you're playing for just a game that really is just point and shoot McJump Man, and just
Mhm.
just point and shoot McJump Man really really well. Um, doesn't doesn't do that so well anymore, if you ask me. But we already talked about that way too much,
Yeah, we did
and I
like
feel like we've
multiple 2-hour long episodes on it.
yeah. It's when I was because in one of the other chats on man, I was being like, oh man, what should I pick for my next Game Pass game? And then someone was like, it'd be really funny if you just picked the Halo game because just like we've already all pretty much we already know what Halo is. It would just be useless to pick it. But then I thought about it, I was like, we really haven't talked about Halo positively like ever on this podcast.
There's not been a lot to talk about positively unless we're doing a
Yeah,
retrospective
Hey,
on its
grapple
overall
hook?
history.
I like the
grapple
grapple
hook
hook as a
good.
campaign tool.
Exactly. It is like the only one that I used in the campaign.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's here as a series still for a reason, and it is because that like first 2/3 of games are just like again, Bungie couldn't miss. I have problems with Halo 2, but they're not enough to make me hate the game. I know people have problems with Halo 1 because it's old and I don't know.
Have bad
Just
taste.
just imagine you also being old, and then you'll like the game more.
I'm crumbling to dust.
Exactly. Playing Halo when it feels good, it makes you feel like you're crumbling to dust and being whisked out to space finally. Uh, but yeah, it's iconic for a reason. Looking back and seeing the videos of like the Times Square midnight release of like Halo 2, and
Oh
it looks
wow.
like New Year's Eve with the amount of people that are cramming the streets for a video game. It's so
I
weird
can't wait
because
to
that
meet someone who only knows about Master Chief from Fortnite.
oh
Oh
my
no.
god, why
That's
did you
what I
have to
can't-
say that?
That just hit me
Oh
when we were doing that joke. I'm
no.
crumbling to dust. Halo
Oh.
joke. I'm
Master
like,
Chief. Oh, you
I
mean the guy I
cannot wait
teabagged as John Wick?
to meet someone who has never heard of Master Chief outside of Fortnite. I'm
God,
sure
that's
they
Fortnite-
exist right
sad.
now,
I-
and it
Oh,
makes me very
absolutely.
sad.
Fortnite is going to do things to the gaming industry that it has not yet already done.
And
That
that
they
thought is
cannot
scary.
foresee the consequences of.
Oh,
It's
I love Fortnite
poking.
existing. I don't think anything else can be Fortnite.
No, yeah, it will
There is
forever
not room for
be.
more than one Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly. And anything else is just poking the tiger with a stick, and it's gonna it's gonna get mauled.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. Halo will always be there. They did a good job with hey, even if the newer games suck, you can still very easily play the games that are good for not that much extra effort,
Mhm.
even if sometimes they are completely broken and still need to be fixed. But that hopefully will actually happen. Um, Greatest game of all time.
Here we
It
go.
actually says favorite game underneath this little Heidi thing. And I think that's important because I don't actually think that this game under here is the greatest game of all time. It is just the most Brett game of all time.
Mm.
That's a good
That's
way to
what we're
put
going
this.
for. These are personal
Exactly.
lists. These aren't
Yeah,
objective things.
If we were just picking the best game, we'd all pick something stupid. That's
we'd all, be super like milk toast. I don't think anyone went into watching this stream to see Ridge Racer 4 appear on a list. I don't think anyone. I hope
I
you weren't expecting that. And if you
I
were,
didn't
you should
know
show up
that
on the
game.
podcast. I
I
want to be your
didn't know
friend.
that game existed, and now I want to hear the lady scream Ridge Racer.
I'll show
Dude,
you
go look up.
after.
You can watch gameplay videos of Ridge Racer. It will give you the same rush.
Oh yeah, it's crispy. But on here, I love me some Halo ODST, but I wasn't gonna put it again because that'd be a little cheesy to put two of the best right next to each other. But
And
that
Hyperlight
that
was your
is
most hours.
yes, Hyperlight was my most hours, but it's because I've really, really loved that game, and just the
Yeah.
messages for that game too are just able to be told so well in a game that does not use any words from any of the characters for the entire playthrough, which is crazy. Um, However, the real best game of all time is a little game called Wild Arms 5, and
What a pick, Brett. What a pick. I love it.
it's just so near and dear to my heart as the single most Brett game that exists. You got your Western soundtrack and your desert environment and your whistles that I cannot replicate properly. You got your giant robots and your dumb sci-fi weapon designs that almost look bad sometimes because of how over designed they are. And I still I think press turn from SMT is probably the better combat system because by this point they've just been able to you know oil out all the problems with it and really make it the best version of what it can be for a combat system. But the hex grid system from Wild Arms 5 is just like it's just cool. It's weird. It's super complicated, but when it works, you just get into the rhythm of like, okay, I'm gonna push the monster
Mhm.
to the hex that's orange, and then I'm gonna use whatever fire move on it. Then it's gonna do 4 times as much damage. And then that'll charge up my big move gauge, and then on my next turn I could do my big move that has like a dumb cinematic where one of the characters who's like a cheesy schoolgirl with the red schoolgirl backpack from Japan and opens up and a giant nuclear bomb comes out of it and just obliterates everything.
Oh,
It is just wonderful. It is just wonderful.
Mhm.
Uh all the characters are stupid. All the characters are very dumb and cheesy and
not
they
one
just
brain cell between them.
not one singular brain cell, and by the end it's just like wow, I love all of these dumb children that just saved the world. It's great. Um, there was one point where it was another the thing that happened where it was just like the giant robots were beating each other up and like the theme music of the game started playing really loud and all the characters like yelling and I was just like I'm gonna have a heart attack. This is incredible. It was just all the things that I like in one like 15-minute cutscene or something. Uh, Again, a really long game. It was on the runner up for most played because of just how long it is. I played it like 1.25 times or something, and it's a lot of time. And if you
Hey,
want to like hundred
sometimes you
percent
want to sit down for a long time.
and just grind exactly. And if you want 100% it, it's even more because there's like a ton of hidden like puzzle rooms and stuff that have their own like
Ooh,
2D platforming.
yay!
Yeah. Uh, it's really sick, and I'm so happy to see that there's a spiritual successor coming out for Armed Fantasia, which already smashed that first goal, which means it's coming out, and oh my god, I just they've shown little bits and pieces of gameplay, and the music and the way the game looks is just everything I've ever wanted from a modern Wild Arms game, and it's actually real, which is incredible. It is really difficult to play Wild Arms 5 though, because I don't think it's even on like PSN on the PS3 or anything.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's hard to find.
this game had like no budget because 4 did really bad and 3 also didn't do very good. So the development team was just like, let's just put all our eggs in this final basket and just And boy howdy, it does not feel like a low budget game. It is incredible. But as a result, fewer copies were made and few people have played it. But if you don't mind going to the high seas or spending like $200 and have a PS2, this is probably one of
Or
my most
hey,
recommended
put
games.
some money towards the Arn Fantasia and Penny Blood Kickstarter, so you feel
Yes.
less bad about Yar Haring.
Exactly. Give back to the people that made this incredible game that cannot make money off of it anymore because of how obscure it is.
Imagine this
The
being
industry is doing something.
I would love if this was like a tier reward for those
Oh my
games. Just throw in
God.
a copy of Wild Arms 5. I don't know
I
how
would
they would
love
do
that.
but that'd be great.
Even if the tier was like $1,000, I'd still do it.
They just mail
my
you
God.
a like snapped in half disc.
Oh my God.
It'd be great. You gotta
There
pay
we
$1 million
go.
per half of the disc.
Oh,
The game's getting funded then.
you
If
must
tell me that
you
the game's getting funded.
you must assemble the two halves of the sacred disc.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. So
But
much
there we
disc
go.
time.
You just play it as a
There's-
mini game in Penny Blood.
Be great. Especially if it's in Penny Blood and not Arm Fantasia, which is
It's
the Wild Arms themed game. Let's flip it around. Shadow Hearts as an Arm Fantasia now. Love it.
God.
Love it. All right. We went through the whole list, Brett. It's a gorgeous image that you've
Really is
compiled
spectacular.
here.
Thank you.
I
Very
can't
much.
stop staring at those clone pecs.
I made them like that on purpose.
They take up a very large part of the screen.
And they are the same. Yeah, I don't know. I expect MS Paint artwork for all successive ones.
You're gonna get.
Alrighty, alright.
I'm
I
gonna
have
put
to do
some
it now.
try to find the worst fan art I can possibly find of every single thing.
I love your style, but I can't do the same thing, so I'm gonna have to do something just as stupidly cartoony.
Yeah, we got to do stuff just
Hopefully
as
it
bad,
comes
but a
off
little bit
charming.
different every time.
Yeah.
The perfect
Oh my God.
storm of I don't know what to call it.
Just garbage.
Trash garbage. Well, Brett, this is excellent. It's taken up the amount of time that I had expected it to, which is good. Because that means the choice to not try to do 4 of these in one episode was good.
Yes. It's a good idea.
We've got at least 4 more people that want to do these, and likely more that might be interested. So these will be sprinkled in with regular episodes. If we have people on that want to do it every week, it'll probably be just like the next month and a little after, with occasional breaks if something crazy happens in the news. So that'll be the format. I think next week we likely will have things to talk about with news, because I think Assassin's Creed discussion is about due to happen. It's going to be that type of week.
Show
We have to let Wyatt
Tokyo
have
Game
his
Show
fun.
is riding up, which means we're gonna have a lot to talk about from Tokyo Game Show, I suspect, with the lack of E3. A lot of Japanese developers are using this as their larger platform this year. It'd be fun. It'd be a good showing.
Yeah.
That's the episode. We did it. It's time for shoutouts.
We made it.
Wow.
Who's got one locked and loaded?
I have one. I think I didn't say this on stream. I told you guys beforehand that I thought I had a cool shout out.
Yes.
One of my best friend from high school stopped by because we haven't seen each other in a very long time, and he dropped off a late birthday gift that he got for me. And there's too much glare on the screen, but
Oh,
cool. Look at
and
that.
the box has lighting in it. The ball itself, it has like heat sensing lights that turn on.
That's sick.
There you can do the. Okay, let's see. Holding
Pretty
it down.
great ball, Alex.
And then like taking the hand off, on.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
There's also a mode for like the catching animation in it too. Oh, it's so fun. It's so cool. It has some serious heft to it as well. Oh, it's blinking multiple colors.
So.
There we go.
It's doing your catch animation.
Yeah.
That catch and it caught. Look at it go.
You've won. Good job.
That's a solid shelf object.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
That and the Gundam that you can see on my shelf, maybe as a collection of
Yes.
pixels. I don't know how the
Yeah.
It's a
resolution of my
small
screen
pink
is.
smudge.
Small pink smudge of Gundam. Brett, what's your shout out?
My shout out goes to the shelf that I built earlier this week because my living situation was very messy because I didn't have space to put things, and I was like, wait a second, I don't have to deal with this. I can
Like, get a
fix it.
shelf.
And I was like, hey Dad, next time you go to Target, can I get a shelf? And he was like, of course, son. And now I got a shelf. I put all my things that I have on disc form on there. I got the top levels for the Gundam models. I'll have to send a picture eventually, but it
Yes,
looks
please.
Oh yeah.
looks crispy.
All right. I gotta show off this little object called an airbrush. Now,
I don't know, Brett. I think that seems kind of
Yeah.
shellfish of you.
Just get out of here.
strange thing to grasp because
Air-
it is connected to an air compressor, but it's an airbrush. It's a little airbrush that you brush paint with, and it's excellent. Time. That one doesn't work particularly well, which is why I immediately used it one time and was like, this doesn't work great, but it's really cool, so I'm going to get a better one. So I ordered a better one, and I'm going to return that one when it gets here. But you get such a nice finish. It looks so good.
Look at it! Oh,
Look at
look
that.
at
Yeah,
it!
that looks
So
like it came
cool!
that way.
Look at that smooth
Oh.
coverage,
Oh,
and this is not
wow.
even done. This is just one coat of paint. It's
Oh,
excellent.
that's so pretty.
It's such a good blast, and this is also when I remember that this camera has the product showcase mode, so I can
Also-
actually stick it nice
my-
and close.
Oh my god, that you have the precision to get the hand that is holding the gun and not the gun?
Oh, that's not precision. That's the airbrush.
That's
It
the
just gets
brush, baby.
everything. I'll need the precision to get the backside of the gun with a brush, because that I can't
God.
airbrush, because I'll hit everything if I
Yeah.
do. Gotta
It's too small
nail
to
it down with a
mask,
regular brush.
probably.
But it works wonders to get a good base coat, which is always a problem because you have issues of like, how do you get a brush underneath something like this to like
Yeah.
get the underside covered? Near impossible. Near impossible. It's very unenjoyable. It takes twice as long as just pulling out the airbrush and just painting the whole thing. And now any corners I can't get to will be nice and shiny, the way they should be on this little Necron. So it's a good time. It's a fancy little art tool that's always very fun. That's it. That's the show. We hit the end of shoutouts. It's time for me to hit the button, and that means podcast available Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice. Episodes every week, with the occasional episode off. We'll be back next week with either more of this or Assassin's Creed news if we have Wyatt.
Hey, Crunky.
Go play
Play
Crunk.io. Play Crunker.io.